Nobody? All right.
Great games.
Remembered.
Yes,
There we
Rachel?
go. Okay.
Ding!
I
Okay, what's up?
remembered.
Good job.
I was going to say that the other amazing thing that Jason has in his model is the fact that he is recruiting through all of these contests, but what the side effect is the incredible community he's built, because everyone engages with him and he's so available on Discord, and they're constantly becoming part of a family, not just pitching and running. And I think that is one of the coolest things that has come out of that model.
Dang. I'm not touching it.
So Caesar, let's talk about the MOQ and to our attendees, the minimum order quantity for a tin to be able to get from a manufacturer. When we talk in risk, what do we have to promise to pay to purchase to get these beautiful little tins that are not risky?
Yeah. I mean, to make it so that it's a price that people want to pay, our minimum order quantity was 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah, and really, it would have been better if we'd gone to 10,000, but we were just conservative just because it was our first foray into it. But yeah, 5,000's a lot.
It is. I mean, when you think of the average Kickstarter that is either a one and done or even successful in planning to go into distribution, they're talking 1,500 copies. So what I'm hearing is everybody, all the attendees, we've got the solo games, hey, right here, okay?
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. Like, what we really learned through this is that if you don't want a filler pocket game, go to Jason. If you want one that has a solo mode for sure, go to Rachel. If you want a mass market one, go to Caesar. And if you want a silly filler, then come to us.
I mean, we all have our angles. That's how we all exist in the same place.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of the industry as a whole, but also just the small games market, is that there is something for everyone right
now. Good morning, everyone.
That's my fault.
Hey! Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Tagmire.
I'm going to move this around. I've never had this right. I just want to say that now.
That's my fault.
Hey,
No, I get to be Caesar. Oh, me again.
Good morning, friends and gamers.
I can't hear Rachel. Can anyone hear Rachel?
Oh,
I can hear Rachel.
Ah!
She's real loud.
Oh my gosh, what is going on? Unmute. Okay. Oh, you chose to mute.
I can hear everyone but Rachel.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if he's trolling you though.
I know. Well, he keeps messing with his mute. I don't know what's going on this morning, but this is going to be a great episode. If you are joining us, you want to learn about microgame publishing, and we had interest in going into deeper detail after we presented a panel overview during GenCon Online. So here we are. We have Dr. Laszlo Korossy, who probably can't hear us quite yet, and we got to figure that out. This is going to be so he really can't hear everyone except Rachel. Okay, cool. So this is going to be fun. Cool.
We can repeat what you say in real time.
Okay,
well, do that, Laszlo?
So Laszlo, in your stuff, it says that if you unmute, did you mute? Like,
y'all can hear her? Okay?
Yes, I hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, you're better now. Okay, do you hear us? Well, it's other people talk.
Can you hear me, Laszlo?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Totally.
Okay, we're good now. All right. So,
but he can't hear you.
You can hear me. Today is going to be one of those days. Okay, so
do your intro, and then we'll all tell Laszlo to go, and then Laszlo can go.
Oh, this is going to work well. What did you do, you goofball?
You know what?
On the fly, problem solving.
I'm going to remove him from there. There we go.
Oh, no.
Much better.
Now this is going to be, oh, wow. This is great.
Oh,
I love how.
Laszlo.
I know we had I was literally, my next sentence is Laszlo is our enthusiastic and beloved moderator. So we're going to go ahead and, okay. So anyways, while he's gone, I'm going to remind everybody that if you're watching this on YouTube, I'd love for you to like the video, subscribe, so that way you can see our future panel.
Yeah, we have a couple more of these left, right?
Yeah, we do. We have one in January, one in February. And here he's coming back. Now he's Adam McCrimmon again. Okay,
All
cool.
right, I'm Adam McCrimmon.
Dang, you guys, it gets all messed up. Right. So do you hear me now, Laszlo?
Yes, I do.
Hooray!
The world is right again. So I was just going to remind everyone, if you're watching on Facebook, you can click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and choose to be notified every time we go live. I go live. And if you're on Twitch, click the heart and you'll know when I live stream there. So, Laszlo, you are such a problem already this morning. Let's let you take it away.
I know. I'm so excited to be a problem this morning. I'm so excited to talk about manufacturing, because I feel like that's where all the problems are. Right?
I mean, huge amount.
Yes.
I came up with a number of good manufacturing related puns, and I don't know if we would like to lead with those.
I mean, you're the moderator. You're in charge.
What do you call a factory that creates doorbells? A manufacturing plant.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Prone.
Nope.
Can you remove him again?
So yes, we are in prime position here for some excellent puns. During the course of the show, I will liberally sprinkle them in.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
I'm so excited.
But I also can't wait because today's topic is probably the one that is maybe the most divorced from the consumer, the most separate from the consumer. This is sort of as back scenes as you can get, as behind the scenes as you can get. I know very, very little about this topic, and yet this is what actually lets me have the games, right? This is where I actually get something that is just an idea in someone's head, and it gets turned into a physical product that I can then play with and have, like 10 different copies of, because, that's what I do. So I did want to ask, we are familiar with the concept of manufacturing, and we understand that that microgames are different than traditional games in many different ways. I wanted to sort of begin by talking about, what is microgame manufacturing like? What are it seems like it should just be an easier thing to do. You're making something small, so it's easier to make it. I get the feeling that's not actually the entire story. So I want to sort of just lead off with a really open question of, how does it happen? And what are sort of the tricks and tips behind it? What are the secrets behind this?
Caesar, you've done it really recently.
That's a very very open-ended question. I mean,
I know.
Millions. I mean, there's I guess 3 of us kind of do it similar ways, but then obviously Jason does it a completely different way.
Jason goes his own way. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I won't sing again, I promise.
We can talk about the normal way we do it, rather than Jason's.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say here unless you want the weird other side of things.
So, Laszlo, your first instinct there of like it's easier is true in some ways. Like the number of assets can be smaller. The number of things that we're asking to be made as part of the run, those are less. In some cases when we're dealing with, when we did the retail version of New Year's Eve, we put it in a clamshell packaging that was really easy for us to have created because, putting things in small clamshells is something that a lot of these factories do all the time, right? They package a lot of goods. So there was less custom design there. For a big box game, we're hiring someone to design an insert that is custom made that fits all the components and the bits. And for a pocket game, it's a little bit more straightforward, a little more standardized. That doesn't mean that there's not challenges and strange things. Like the Quarks line is going to be in these very specific clamshell boxes. and we're in the process of getting samples and designing those right now. So there are some complications that are different, but the process is a little bit smoother. It's that there's all these other things that you wouldn't expect to come out of the woodwork. Like Rachel, I know you've mentioned before the idea that when you have so many small games, they all get packed together in one big box.
Right.
Our Anoka Alpha was the first run of Anoka was in tuck boxes, and they packed like 24 in a case. So the amount of damage was way higher than we might have expected on a normal box or a normal shipment.
Right. And when you are working with a manufacturer, they are used to, a different type of product. Like when they're packing for to ship out, it is basically the big boxes are usually in 4s or 6s, and they look at our products and go, oh, well, there's tons of them, and I can fit like 80 in a box. That's great. And also, distributors don't like that. They're like,
what? Your game store doesn't want 80 copies of this game? I don't understand. It's just one case.
Logistics issues on the back end, and but you have to back it up a stage to the manufacturing to deal with that problem, because once it's on the boat, you can't do anything. And so you have to work with your manufacturer to explain to them that even that they need to quote out to you different amounts of product in the boxes. So like when we had Mintworks, I'll go the Adam route. Mintworks Alpha. This is first edition. The distribution, and this is also like Caesar's Tinder Blocks that's coming out right now, because it's a standard size. So this, you've got all of the weight distributing pretty equally, but when we ended up having to go to a custom size, which is a whole other issue, it became more difficult to distribute the weight. And so in the bottom of an 80 count box, the 4 bottom tins often had damage because of the volume and then the weight distribution. So those are things that other other publishers probably wouldn't have to deal with as much.
I quickly Googled Anoka Alpha in quotes to try to figure out what game this is.
It's Anoka. It's still Anoka. It's just it's a version that's in a tuck box, and it has less art. Like there's only 3 different versions.
But I appreciate the insider terminology.
Oh yes. Well, we were discussing it the other day, and I said I'm going to call it Anoka Prime just because.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a better name.
I know. Like, what was that? You missed an Optimus Prime reference? Like, really?
I know. Yeah, we did.
If I was still,
it's not the best version of Anoka though. The best version of Anoka is the way overproduced one that comes in the 2-part box.
I do have that one.
That's the prettiest version of Anoka. Let's put it that way.
Any other traps? Any other like little issues that you can just get bogged down in?
For every game, when you get to manufacturing, every millimeter matters, and I would say for the route that we are going for Quarks, every millimeter matters there too, and even more so. We've got a hard limit on the size of the case that we can go through. And Jason, I know this is something you deal with too. You've got a hard limit on like, hey, we're going to put them in this, and they're going to be this many cards, and that's our formula. So we have to adhere to that formula. Now, for manufacturing, that probably makes it really easy on your end.
It does. Everything's the same. Like
it's all the same. But yeah, one of the things that we look at a lot is dual use components. Like if we can make something be dual use. So like for instance, the insert that's in the box for Cultivate is going to double as the game board. It lays in the middle of the table because it needs to. We don't have room in that box to put a separate other board. And functionality wise, it works just the same or maybe even better because you get a nice feel of it when you pull it out. But those are some of the things that we tend to think about when it comes to manufacturing these smaller games.
Is there anything that comes up in terms of like producing items that manufacturing plants might not be used to?
Yeah, we had
custom sizes, small sizes like that.
We had tweezers, which we had a lot of problems with actually, because with tinder blocks, rather than using your hands, because the components are so small, that's part of the fun of it. We had to use tweezers, but then we had problems with the manufacturer in terms of the samples that they were sending us, because most of them would fit in the box that we intended, but they weren't quite right in terms of, bizarrely, the length between one side of the tweezer to the other. So this sort of these dimensions needed to be a certain length or width, whatever you want to call it, and it needed to be small and compact and not metal. The manufacturer was saying if you used a metal tweezer, that would create problems with certificating it as safe for use with children, because it's a family-friendly game. So we spent ages going back and forth, and eventually they sourced one that was absolutely perfect. It wasn't absolutely perfect, but it was very close to perfect. And in the end, the width and the size was great, but I would have preferred the arms to be slightly fatter. Otherwise, we would have had to have paid for an extremely expensive mold,
right,
with a subcontractor that they would have contracted out, which probably would have cost us, I don't know, maybe $10,000 they were estimating, because it was not a company that they would have used. So often manufacturers will subcontract things like producing miniatures to companies that make plastic miniatures or plastic molds of things, and then put those in the games. Typically, most manufacturers that board gamers or board game manufacturers use typically make the cardboard bits, the paper bits, and maybe one or two other standard items like wooden bits. But usually everything else is subcontracted out to other companies, and that's often why, as a publisher, when you're waiting for a quote, they're often spending maybe a week like talking to other smaller manufacturing plants, typically near their own plant, for pricing, and then they come back with obviously their markup and the price for the end publisher.
Yeah, so, for Anoka, the Kickstarter edition, we have there's a muslin bag in the box that you can put all the components in and throw that in your bag and take it with you. And that bag was one of those components that we just, the manufacturer didn't make it. We had to source it somewhere else. We had a couple rounds back and forth of making sure we had a bag that would fit nicely inside the box, but then also fit all the components if you were to take them out of the box. So yeah, that train of the sub-manufacturing or the subcontracting of a manufacturer to someone else, it adds time to the whole process too. So something that we would think is going to be pretty smooth or pretty quick ends up taking 2 or 3 times as long, because that manufacturer just doesn't make that one piece and they have to go somewhere else to get it.
And that's really common for our thing, because we have to use different materials to be more durable, because all of our stuff travels a lot. So you end up with adding to that process, because everybody's like, it's just a tiny little game. Why can't you get it done quicker? Or, like, it should be easier. Well, actually, it's more difficult, because they have, yes, you've got the other assets, but you have all these other interactions with subcontractors that, because it's not going to be a paper bit like what you're saying, like Adam's gonna have to go find a plastic one, and you've got Jason who has to use the vinyl wallets. We always have to go find another tin.
I'm convinced that Jason has stock in a company that produces vinyl wallets.
Right.
The funny thing is, it would
just be smart.
I was trying to find a second company that makes them for some options and things, and there's one that's like 2 miles from my house, and they're not the one that we use, but they're like the next town over.
Funny. Oh my gosh.
But the one thing.
Go ahead.
The one thing that I'm having a problem with is we have a line of games coming out called Button Shy Bootlegs that come in a VHS case, and it's a very specific VHS case, and I keep going back and forth with them, and I'm like, are you going to guarantee that you're going to be making these in a year from now? Like, they have a shelf life, and they're going to stop making them at some point. There's no way that that's going to last forever. So I keep going back and forth with, like, how many do I need to buy just to guarantee that I'm going to have them? And are you going to still be making them? And they keep saying that they are, but I can't imagine that they will be.
There's a publisher here in London that has actually released a game in a VHS box, and it's called Blockbuster.
Yes, same here.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
have that.
Yeah, so it's a trivia game. So maybe you could talk to those guys about where they sourced their VHS tapes. I mean, it literally is a VHS tape box. So yeah.
What I was going
to
also mention is the fact that because most people want to stick with the same factory because it keeps costs down, on top of the fact that it keeps the time down, is they like to put things in tuck boxes. So tuck boxes are not the best for portable games because you end up having wear and tear a lot quicker.
Look at this. Look at these edges. Look at these corners. This is a corporate promo product we made about a year or two ago. But we put it in a tuck box, and it's meant to go in a pocket or a bag. And I've kept mine in my bag.
Right.
And it does not hold up.
For real.
Darn tuck boxes.
I wanted to keep mine.
Did we say you tucked it up?
I tucked it up, man. I tucked it up.
This one is meant to be played in hand in line, and so of course it has to live in my purse, or else it won't get played.
Yeah,
so
you
like
won't play it.
Exactly. So like it's just like it's already, and yes, this is a prototype, but that's we all know what tuck boxes look like, feel like, even in retail. So most people end up dealing with it in a different way. So it's going to get repackaged anyway. People are putting them into photo storage boxes, things like that. And I mean, if you've got a real dedicated gamer, otherwise your game's just not going to get played, and therefore it's not going to get bought.
I wanted to highlight something someone said a couple minutes ago, that, it's people expect it to go quickly because it's a small game. How do you communicate that to your backers or to your customers that, there are delays even with a small game. There are setbacks even with manufacturing, even on a small game, like without making it seem like you're just making excuses.
I just had to do this yesterday with Agropolis. Our manufacturer is taking a month off for Christmas, and it's like right in the middle of everything. So it adds like 2 months to our timeline.
Yeah.
But like, I think most of us have shorter timelines for a microgame than normal, just because of the amount of assets and processes that need to happen before you can go to print and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So extending a shorter one is usually not too bad. It's still way less than, those year and a half long Kickstarter waits, but it's painful. It's painful all the time. It helps if you have other stuff going and other positive vibes and other good news and products that they're waiting on. If you have repeat customers, which I'm sure a lot of us do. But yeah, it hurts no matter what.
I would say being transparent in your updates is really key, and being able to have an ongoing conversation with your community is just super, super important. So like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I posted a Kickstarter update 10 minutes after finding out. I was like, oh man, I'm mad. I'm going to make everybody else mad.
Yeah.
I mean, we feel the same way as the backers. I mean, we want our stuff coming through too. So
yeah.
The whole doing multiple things at one time is also important for the mental health aspect, because whenever you get a downer about something, you can guarantee that you get something positive in another project.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Often I've had really negative news, typically from manufacturers or my shipping partners, and then I have great news by some new art coming in, and it looks fantastic. So from a publisher's point of view, there's lots of highs and lows, and when you're doing multiple things at once, which most publishers do anyway, you'll often get some negative news, and it's counteracted by positive news. So everything's neutral at the end of the day.
Yeah,
that's my British
everything smooths out. Everything smooths out.
So let's talk a little bit about cheating.
There's a question in the comments. I just want to. So GamerBob42 said, "Does subcontracting add cost on top of the additional time?" And I would say, yeah, it does. Sometimes those costs are not going to be really obvious to you. You may quote with a manufacturer, and they tell you that this is how much it's going to cost to get all of this done and the time frame it's going to take. And then if you dig in a little bit, you can see, oh yeah, they're gonna outsource this thing. In the case of Anoka, it was the bags, and if we would have gone and sourced those bags ourselves, Could we have saved a little bit of cost? Maybe, because we still have to get them from that manufacturer to this manufacturer for assembly and all that stuff. But we definitely wouldn't have saved our mental health at all, because then we would have been worrying about all these different things instead of just going, hey, there's a manufacturer, they're handling all aspects of this thing, and they're pushing through it. So yeah, it adds costs and some time, but it's probably the best way to do it, because otherwise you're just doing a lot of extra legwork. And to quote this really smart person I saw on a live stream yesterday named Julie, if you're spending time doing stuff yourself, then you're taking away from what you could be doing in your company, right? You're wasting your own time. So
that sounds like my business model.
Jason, you're unique, man.
We kind of realize that ourselves, because at Alleycat, we do, or used to do, all international shipments ourselves up until COVID came along and jacked up all the prices everywhere. But even recently, we've just shipped out, I think it was like 4,000 packages ourselves in the last week. And then we realized, when we racked up the price of having to put up my guys in a hotel, having to rent a warehouse, that sort of thing, it really racks up time and money. So yes, taking time away doing things yourself really is bad. And as publishers, often that's why we subcontract to freelance developers, freelance artists, etc. So essentially, we just become project managers, and your time is the most valuable commodity as a project manager, because you need to be managing people.
Right.
Yes.
So you might have done all of those other things that had extra cost, but did you calculate the cost of all of the time that you would have been doing other things that would have furthered the rest of your projects during that time? So yeah, no, it's self-fulfillment is rough.
Yes.
It is, yeah. But we've done it loads of times, and because Jason, you do it as well, right? Self-fulfillment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you guys do it? Because obviously, do you rely on USPS or?
So we will. I want to interrupt.
Was that another topic we're going to do? Okay.
We are actually going to be tackling that next, I believe. I need to look at my
cross over it.
Look at that moderator be moderating. That's good.
I'll get way into it then.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it, actually.
Yeah.
Me too. I want to keep hammering on this. I want to figure out what can you do to bring the cost down, or what can you do to bring the time down? Are there any corners you can cut? Are there any ways that you can sort of work within the system to get things done faster? Any sort of tricks of the trade here?
You have to be careful when you cut corners, particularly in small games, because when you cut corners, you may be potentially ruining some aspect of the gameplay. And gameplay is key to keeping fun. Like, you have to ultimately the game has to be fun and unique and different, and people will keep it on their shelves. So starting to cut corners risks doing that.
Yeah, I mean, when you make a micro game, the whole package, the way it fits together, the way the game plays, what components you choose to use, all of that feels to me as though it can matter even more, because you are so sparse and limited with what you have there. You have to make sure that you don't cut corners in those areas. So, if I make a meeple at 5 millimeters of thickness instead of 8 millimeters of thickness, then is the person gonna be able to pick it up easily? Is it gonna feel right in their hand? And all of that's gonna matter to their experience with this smaller package. So,
Absolutely.
But to your question of it, can you make it easier? Yeah, you can standardize your process. You can standardize your components. You can find a way to have a formula and then repeat it. And I think that's, I'm pointing the wrong way. That's part of, Jason's secret sauce over there, Bud and Shy, is, you got a formula, and you stick to the formula, and it standardizes everything and simplifies it. Same thing with Bud and with not White Wizard, with the in between the Rachael the Mintworks.
The Mintworks, yes.
Yeah, the Mintworks series.
Well, and those, I mean, there was a lot of, that was part of the testing process, is making sure that you pick the right size of components. because there's been times where we picked up a prototype that had smaller mints, and it was virtually impossible to pick them up, virtually impossible to place them successfully on the locations. And then I think that even in mint, I don't know. I think it's Mint Control that they increase the size of them just for some more tactile feel. And then there's a lot of different options that you have in front of you. You just got to pick one and then stick with it. And unless you want to be crazy and, change it so that it gets bigger, and then you have to deal with the sizes of the custom issues.
We have a way to cut corners on, I guess, cost and time, which is like, well, or instead of, if you order 18 cards by themselves, it's going to be more expensive per 18 than if you order 54, for example. Mm-hmm. So what we'll do is we'll order our games like in decks, and then we'll split them out. But this is, there's my camera. This is like multiple games within one deck that cost considerably cheaper per game than if I bought them individually. So we buy these, split them up, then hand assemble. Saves time, saves shipping time because they're all in one shipment here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about Jason's process since it's alternative.
Okay, so I'll show you. I have stuff here. So this is a chainmail, one of our games. Chainmail is not in this box, right? So I have to get these boxes. I have to put them up, right?
Uh-oh. This is the worst possible time for his internet to lag.
Right?
Whoa. Is it mine? Are you good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, so we open these up, right? And then this has inside of it it's a lot of Sprawlpolis, but it's multiple copies of Sprawlpolis, it's expansions and all kinds of things like that.
Did you just see Laszlo's eyes bug out just now? He was like,
so I have to find, I try to make them so they're super easy to split, but so I look for the Rectar, right? Laszlo, you love Rectar. He hates Rectar. But anyway, so split that out. There's one game. Then
cool.
Split out this, and there's one expansion, and then split out this, and there's another expansion, and then it repeats.
Gotcha.
Once they're split, we would get our wallets, give them a little fold, get our rules, give them a cut because they're too big the way they come. So I have to cut off the bottom of them, which I'll do in super bulk.
I love that. It's what? So you hand guillotine them, or what? How do you do that?
Yeah, I have one of the guillotine choppers. Yeah, it does
and then it does multiple ones.
It easily does 100 at a time. Yeah.
Well, okay, wow.
So, but it'll chop your fingers off. So I'm very afraid of using it, but I have to. So we cut these down to size. And then basically just assemble the game. So split these in half, which Sprawlpolis is easy because they're numbered. And then pop them in the wallets. I'm really bad at this. I don't do it.
It's like I'm waiting for a magic trick now.
Here.
I think that is the entire thing, making the game.
I'm just waiting for him, Agropolis, to start shooting out of his hoodie.
So that's it. And then it's done. But this takes from that, and then the tuck boxes, we'll make them for different games and stuff that we can reuse in different ways because they come in a tuck box. Some of our printers don't come in a tuck box. We made this little button shy, it's like a score tracker, and you just put whatever you want in it for one order. There's a new one coming that's a mega Sprawlpolis box that can hold everything Sprawlpolis. We just use them for giveaways and stuff.
Huge.
Wait. Can we just wait? What was that again?
Nothing. But so that whole process from this box to 2 wallet games, 2 expansions, and then the expansions have rules and they get sleeved in little clear card sleeves. It's a minute or 2 per box, so it takes a while. It's definitely quite a long process, and it's still cheaper than getting everything made overseas. No, it's not cheaper. It's way faster. Sorry, it's still way faster than getting things made over. And it's still fairly inexpensive per unit because of the way we do it. But I would never suggest it.
So that's actually something I did want to ask about. Is I know that the vast majority of board games today are made in China, right? That is where, I mean, having the Chinese New Year is like a ritual of Kickstarter now. It's like anytime you have a delay, you blame it on Chinese New Year, even if it's like in the middle of August or something.
It's an honest delay. It happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you're about to send the files, and they're like, "Nope, sorry, Chinese New Year, bye." They'll literally shut the door and be like, "See you later. I can't hear you. Bye. See you later." I don't know what you're talking about.
We're working with the manufacturer right now for the XYZ game case, and it is, they've said like, oh, if you can get us everything we need by this date, then we're fine, and it's like sometime in December. But then after that, like, don't bother until February.
Basically,
like, till February. What are you doing?
Yeah, and all that, like,
manufacturers will still have a contact that you can speak to, and typically they'll message you from home because they want to keep the ball rolling. But if you want actual stuff done, like getting a graphic designer to approve your template of yours or whatever, or even just to start anything manufacturing, pre-production, order some samples, nope, you can forget it. And sometimes they'll give you a date and say by this date, and then you send it on the date. They're like, oh no, sorry, I meant the day before. It's too late now.
That happens.
It happens.
That totally happens.
So
if anyone's wondering why there are like these delays that we didn't expect, it's because sometimes you'll have a rep who isn't as responsive as the last rep that you had, or you may have a manufacturer who goes, hey, you know what? We decided we're taking December and January off.
Like, I don't think consumers understand that us publishers, we don't want that delay.
No.
We can plan for it all we want, but we don't want that delay. But at the end of the day, it's their holiday. Give them a break.
Right.
We have Christmas, we have Easter. Do you know what I mean? So, and these people are like in China, as far as I understand it, they sometimes work 7 days a week. None of us do that, as far as I know.
So my question is, Jason, you were just saying, it's not cheaper to do it in the US, but it's way faster. Does the micro nature of the games make other venues for manufacturing more viable? Do you have other options?
Ours isn't. So some of our stuff does come from China. It just depends on the project. So it's like our hand assembling is done in the US. So we do have to deal with the Chinese New Year and things like that. But with the US, like I said, we're dealing with a month off for Christmas. So it's almost no different this whole time of year. It's just a really hard time of year between December and January to get anything done.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't suggest having your biggest Kickstarter of all time, like we did, supposed to fulfill right after Christmas and Chinese New Year. So we're getting hit on all ends on that.
There are lots of other options. So if you're a European publisher like us, there are lots of particularly Polish. There's also a Czech manufacturer I know of. Lots of German manufacturers. There's some Dutch manufacturers. So if you're based in Europe, you can access these manufacturers. They are obviously typically more expensive than Chinese because of labor costs are more expensive. That's literally it. But one thing that we did recently was get a quote from both our Polish manufacturer who's done our 3 projects with us, and then I'll compare with our Chinese manufacturer. And then we found out that if we get all the wooden components made in China and then air freight it to Poland, it actually works out only marginally more expensive, and then it will be a lot quicker because you can pre-order the wooden components as soon as you know the numbers, and it will take a month, and then in Poland it will take a week to assemble. So that could be a very quick project for us. And I've heard some European publishers do that a lot, particularly if your main market is in Europe. Unfortunately for us, our main market is the US, so it doesn't really make a big difference to us. But some of our projects are, more European focused rather than US focused. So there are ways around it as such, and manufacturers are there to work for us, and that's the ultimate, thing for us.
The ecosystem.
Oh, Laszlo.
No, he did it again.
It's not so much
Oh, there we go.
manufacturing as it's us factoring. You might say.
I couldn't hear him.
Say
It
that
was a
again.
pun. No, it was a pun. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it.
To paraphrase Caesar, it's not so much manufacturing as it is
Oh,
factoring.
This is why we do this.
Right.
At least it's not Man
For
City
that.
factoring, so you know. If you know your soccer and football.
Soccer and football.
Soccer and football. Okay, so I was talking to my wife about this panel, and she said, "Oh, you're doing your video game thing again." I said, no, it's board games. She said, "That's what I meant."
That's what I meant.
And she said, "You should talk about quality control." And I was talking with some of the panelists here about this earlier. And, you know, when you've got a game like Gloomhaven, you take it out. That's always my go-to game. You take it out and you play with like a handful of cards, a handful of figurines each time, and then you put it away. But when I play Sprawlopolis, when I play Mintworks, when I play, you know, any of these games, I tend to use every single component every single time. That's great. I guess it means that there's equal wear and tear on all of them, but it means there's a lot of wear and tear on them. How do you guarantee the type of quality that is going to be able to stand up to so much constant and repeated usage as a micro game is going to take?
I mean,
Raise your hand if you're a sleever.
yeah, a sleeve. The other way you can do it is plastic cards. They're very, very resistant, but they're also very, very expensive.
Right, like Palm Island. Love that.
Yeah. So there's a game here that was released in the UK by a small independent publisher by Bez. It was a really popular, like a dexterity game called Inner Bind, and that was picked up by Gigamic and turned into Yogi. And they realized that the cards would bend because you're literally having to hold the cards, put it on your head like this, and do that. So they actually made them plastic and waterproof at the same time, obviously. So they're ultra resistant. But unfortunately, for cards at least, it's very hard to make them tough and resistant. I can't think of any other way to do it apart from sleeving them, obviously. Right.
We constantly thought about that, in the fact that a lot of people are playing it while they are, you know, waiting for food or something at a restaurant and or at a bar or something, in, you know, in the before times. But we are just thinking like, okay, so that's got to be subject to water, food. I mean, obviously gamers are going to be careful, but like when we were talking about what we wanted to do in terms of cardstock or whatever, there's so many different finishes that you can add to them. I think like usually like UV or like linen finish is pretty standard if you're going to do a luxury product, but the kind of the core within the card, there's different levels of quality with that. And then we always get lots of pushback because people want to sleeve their games, and our form factor doesn't allow for that because they're custom size cards. They have to fit back into a custom size package. And so we felt a responsibility to increase the quality of our cards to accommodate for the usage. So like one of the most important comments that I ever received from a backer or from a gamer was that they had played Mintworks, I think it was like 156 times or something like that, and the cards felt the same and did not have any signs of wear. And that was probably the ultimate compliment and feeling as a publisher in terms of quality.
For us, we just start with high quality cards. I mean, that's all we have is cards, and if we cheaped out on cards, that's our whole entire product. So that would be a big problem. A second is before manufacturing, is looking for problems that, you know, like darker colors will flake on cards more often than lighter colors. So it's usually like a graphic design thing that we'll look at and try to avoid, you know, the black edges, because that's just potentially going to lead to a problem much faster than a lighter edge or something with a texture or anything like that.
Yeah, for Zoo Year's Eve, the cards have a light, so that you're not supposed to know what the card is that someone else is holding, and you're not supposed to know what card was, put into the zoo in the middle of the deck. So the back of those cards are very light, so that way, if there is wear and tear, you're not noticing it as much. Now, the other side is full bleed art, because cards should be beautiful, and
Yep.
that's what happens. But those are things that we think about in regards to how the printing is handled and how it's going to be handled. Aside from that, I mean, we're going, like what Jason said, we're going with initial high quality stock to begin with. There are some tricks you can do, like if you use a coating on the card, like a playing card coating or like a linen playing card coating, you can reduce wear and tear. We did that for Borderlands Tiny Tina's Robot Tea Party. That uses a very much like a bicycle playing card type stock, so that it is it's a little bit firmer and it wears and tears a little bit less. But aside from that, if your microgame is wearing out, James in the chat over there on YouTube has an awesome solution.
Buy more.
Just own multiple copies, and then you're fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna put James on blast. He has more copies of any game I've ever sold than how to.
Oh my gosh, he's like, wait a second, I heard about this. I need 3 copies of everything.
Well, and the cool thing is that with the smaller games, it is much cheaper to replace them.
Yeah.
If you do have a problem with them and they are meant to, go places, you can replace it really cheaply. And you're not going to rebuy Gloomhaven. You're going to live with your components that are, oh my God, there's so many Sprawlopolises.
Oh,
I could beat that, but I'm not going to.
This doesn't include my copies off the continent and in my Go Everywhere collection, in my Game Shelf collection.
When I say he's a
Rachel,
microgame enthusiast,
Rachel, I noticed that you're holding the first release, the first print run of Zoo Year's Eve.
Yeah, totally lifted it off of you at a con a long time ago.
Could one call that?
Hey, look at that.
Woo!
The retail version even has nicer cards than the one you have, Rachel.
Ooh, maybe
Adam,
I
could we
should
call that
rebuy like 3 copies.
No.
So what I wanted to say, since we're discussing this, I have several designer packs, and because if you are a designer wanting to learn more about this stuff, or a publisher that's looking at working with another manufacturer, they often make packs called designer packs, or things like that. This is pandas, and they will keep different examples of their card stocks in them. So like, for example, it'll talk about white core. Sorry, it's not going to show it very well because I have it still in the pack, but there's like, this is heavy white core, this is black core. Then we were talking about the different finishes that you can put on. There's and Longpack's kind of known for doing good card work, and that because each manufacturer has a different reputation for different components being really good at, and so like this says matte lamination, and then you've also that's how you check the spring, matte varnish. So this is much smoother and probably more waterproof. This is a glossy varnish, which some people don't like because they're trying to look at stuff on a playing surface and it's hard to read. And then there's glossy. This is lamination. So like it's got spring and it's pretty close to the plastic cards. So there's lots of stuff out there that you can get a hold of to feel in your hand and see what works for your games.
We are now running a little bit up against our ending time here. We've got about 10 minutes to go. I don't know if there was anything in the comments that we wanted to address. It seems like there have been a lot of expressions of support.
Julie woke up.
I want to address Jeremy Howard and say good morning as well.
Good morning. Oh, and Julie was saying that eStar has a great sample box also, and I have that one right here also There, right here. So you can request all these things. They will send all sorts of stuff. What is okay? I haven't opened this one today. So like, what is in here, Julie? That is exciting. Oh, yeah.
Wait, you can't. You have to see this sample. This is amazing.
Yeah. We got stuff coming in. Oh. Yeah, she obviously is a minis person because they have a bunch of minis in here, and that is not my jam. So, but they do have the same type of things.
Oh my god, yes, Caesar. Is that the bag of all the crazy animal-shaped meeples?
Yep. This is from my Polish manufacturer.
Wait, can you
I was
hold that
like-
closer to the
I was like,
camera?
yeah, that's so cool. So now I can look at their meeples and be really happy.
One of our manufacturers sent us a bag that was just all the different types of animals they could make, because we were looking for meeples for Cultivate, and ended up going with this. This is our spider. This is still this is just like unpainted right now, but it's just a little spider meeple. You don't like spiders?
Oh, he does not like spiders.
How about a water? How about a watering
Love
can?
zombies. Love
a watering
zombies.
can. Is that cool? But yeah, they sent us a big bag that's got multicolored animals, and my daughters were like pulling them out and playing with them and looking at that. It was great. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sample kit that is playable. It's pretty cool. It's just like one of everything, but there's a little game, like the rules, like it shows a rule sheet, but it actually is rules to use with the playable sample kit.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking, and then there's talking about like I pulled out the E-Star one, but there is like gray core at the 280 GSM, and you've got ivory core 350, which is like super. So you can take a look at the difference between a 350 and a 280. 280, this is like super hard or easy to bend. The 350, you can barely move it. So like there's just different things that you can learn by requesting those kind of things, and it provides a different level of experience, a higher level of quality and experience for your players, but it costs. So you have to balance that, because if you want to have a approachable, accessible price point, but good quality cards, that's where we make the balance.
Yeah.
I do agree with Allison's comment. There's something about a well-used, loved deck of cards that's so comfy.
It's true.
Yeah.
You know, it's when I take out one of my new copies of Sprawlopolis, it's beautiful and it's fun. But then when I have my old one, it's just like, this is a game that I have put effort into, and it shows the signs of my effort.
So maybe that tuck box wear isn't so bad.
They just fall
I've got
apart.
a couple tuck boxes that I pulled together with packaging tape, and it's a badge of honor.
Okay.
I keep mine in my quiver so they don't get all beat up.
I hear that.
Oh man, I was so close. It was so close. Yes, the quiver is great.
Yes, he's making a different product that's really cool looking too.
I know.
Just like a quiver.
We're making a game case that's meant to hold microgames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're gonna get one of the. We're gonna do one of these.
Yep.
And it holds magic deck boxes too. So if that's your jam.
Uh-huh. Very cool.
And those types of like multi-game packaging solutions is also something that I definitely want us to hit on when we talk about packaging.
I feel personally, us just at XYZ, we needed them. Like all of us have multiple microgames that we're all getting like shoved in a pocket in our bag. So Jason, when I saw you guys did the Button Shy one, I was like, yeah, absolutely, this makes perfect sense. You need to, because there's so many things.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So Jeremy asks, other than being cost effective, what's the most difficult thing about creating a consistent cycle of small box or micro games?
For us, like consistency is in our product model, but not the game designs. Like there was a big question early on whether we wanted to keep everything thematically similar, try to keep the same audience over and over, and because we have so many releases, I didn't want those people to feel like they had to buy all of them, and we wanted to kind of touch on different people all at different times. So we just kept the consistency in the product product model, but not in the games. You know, we try to keep all the games great, but very different.
Yeah, for us, Quarks is meant to be a series. It's meant to be a series of pocket games, and they've got some rules about how we do them. So the hard part is that we'll get pitched a lot of microgames, but not all of them can be a Quarks. You know, you got to be able to learn in 5 minutes. It's got to play in less than 30. It's got to fit inside a very specific sized box now. So those put different restrictions on it. So getting those, you know, getting a number of titles that we feel are good and would go with the whole series of games, that's some of the challenges that are there.
It's true.
And Rachel, for you folks, it was for Mintworks originally. It was like, well, it's got to be a Mint game.
Yeah, it has to that was the core thing is like it has to use the actual Mint component. It has to have that exact thing that you're using. Otherwise, it misses the theme. So
right.
If you don't have those, then what's the point? So we can't just put like a card game in a tin. That doesn't make any sense. So
yeah. Right.
Oh, and I was gonna note to everybody who is dealing with this kind of stuff, this tool, Micrometer, this is definitely worth the investment because it helps you. It's a digital type of thing that will work for
a micrometer. I don't think I've ever used one of those.
Or a caliper. I mean,
yeah,
it's also called a caliper. But yeah, right. Like this super. I have one in my bag because it comes in handy all the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when they're asking you for really specific measurements and you're trying to figure things out, since you have such a small product, it's really nice because it can fit the whole thing. So you can get very, very specific.
On the other hand, the more you standardize, the less you run into those sorts of measurements, right?
For instance, Cultivate, one of the new games that we have coming out, so it uses like 36 cards that are almost all different. Then it's got meeples. It's also got a little board, as I showed before, and it's got a stack of micro cards in it. All of these things have to fit within a package that is no more than like 30 millimeters thick and no more than, like 97 millimeters long. So making sure that all of those things are going to fit in the box well, and then we know how much room is left over, and can we put a score pad in there? Can we put, can we put other stuff in that box? Those are all a question. That once you have a caliper, that you can more accurately answer it. That gum case does not fit.
Nope, this is 18 by 108, so you are going custom. Have fun.
Yes, we are.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or anything that we didn't touch on today?
Man, we got into the nitty gritties, like we said.
That was the plan, right?
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
I hope you learned something new, and if you'd like to join us next month, it's not next month. We're going to take a break for the holidays. Come back January 9th. Let me throw that up here so that you guys can see. Oh, wait, no, I didn't put it in. Never mind. I put it over here. I already put up the save the date thing. So if you guys pop over to YouTube, there is the link. And you can set the reminder so that you don't even have to worry about it in the future. It'll just remind you, because I'm not good at remembering to do all the things. But we're going to be talking about fulfillment and distribution, which a lot of us are dealing with currently, and we'll have lots and lots to talk about. So thanks again to my guests that were here on the panel, and our enthusiastic moderator.
I'm still looking for a pun that would work with womanufacturing. It's not manufacturing, it's woman-ufacturing, but I haven't come up with one.
Maybe that's a sign that's
a sign.
Best
that's
kind.
a sign.
So so much for giving me a bit of your Saturday. If anyone wants to follow any of the guests on the panel, our outro will show a multitude of ways to find us all over the internets. And until next time, friends, be well and make some games.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.